say, if we're going to crown a brand new IC champion, the finals should be Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak. I feel like there's a story there that could be told, with obviously Drew and Daniel been working together lately. I genuinely thought Drew Gulak might be the guy to take the belt off Sami Zayn. What a way to improve the stock of Drew Gulak in WWE.
Well, that aged like milk, didn't it? Here's your news. The real reason for Drew Gulak's WWE departure has been revealed. An ex-WWE star has been threatened with legal action, and a WWE Hall of Famer has officially retired. Find out who in a little bit. So this came as a bit of a shock, considering that he was so prominently featured on Friday Night SmackDown. Drew Gulak has gone from the WWE. You may have seen this breaking over the weekend. He was moved to the WWE alumni section, and then Pro Wrestling Sheet broke the news saying that Drew had been released from his contract. It's since been corroborated by PW Insider and the Wrestling Observer that Drew wasn't released from his contract. It was that his contract expired. Dave Meltzer expands on this and says that the two parties, WWE and Drew Gulak, were in negotiations for a new contract for Gulak. Gulak wanted more money in his contract, and WWE, instead of just saying no, took the entire offer from the table. And Drew Gulak is now without contract and no longer in WWE as it stands. This is crazy news, because like we've gone from at the start of this year, like guys within WWE who literally couldn't get out of their contracts if they ran through a street naked. Like, they couldn't get out of their contracts for love nor money, to the point where now WWE are releasing people left, right and centre, and something as simple as Drew Gulak asking for a pay rise isn't outside the realms of possibility. And it's pretty common with WWE guys and with people in general. When you come to the end of a contract, you do negotiate a pay rise. It's pretty standard. So for Gulak to do the standard thing and try and get a pay rise, and then for WWE to go no and bye, that was crazy. You kind of get the vibe as well that it certainly wasn't in their front of mind to get rid of Gulak, because he had such a strong match against Daniel Bryan, a losing effort against Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, and even after SmackDown they recorded a video with him backstage, a promo backstage with him, where he talks about picking himself up after this loss, swinging from the fences and cracking on. Like, you get the vibe that there was going to be a big push for Drew Gulak beyond this, but not to be. He joined WWE back in 2016. He was part of the Cruiserweight Classic and the original class for 205 Live. Really enjoyed some of the stuff he did on 205 Live. The anti high flying Drew Gulak, and then the PowerPoint presentation owning Drew Gulak. Stuff like that was really good fun. He became the Cruiserweight champion last year, lost it in October, was moved over to SmackDown, where he didn't do a fat lot until him and Daniel Bryan started hanging out together. I know Bryan was a big fan of the work Gulak was doing backstage and pushed for this to come together. And I've enjoyed the mentor-mentee stuff that they've been doing. I genuinely thought it would lead to more matches between them, but as it stands, that's not the case. That is, however, as it stands, because Drew Gulak is represented by Barry Bloom, who is kind of a wrestling super agent. And according to Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer, this is not a dead issue. So there's a good chance that there may still be some kind of contract renegotiated, something where Drew comes back to WWE. But we will see. As it stands right now, as you and I talk at time of recording, Drew Gulak no longer with WWE. Gutted. I'm going to make a PowerPoint presentation in his honour. Let's unpack the Lio Rush Mark Henry situation. So late last week, Lio Rush was sending out a whole load of tweets about comments Mark Henry made about him on Busted Open Radio last year. The comments in question, Mark Henry said that he had talked WWE out firing Lio Rush last year. He also said that he tried to help Lio Rush navigate things in WWE, something that Rush has disagreed with. Lio Rush tweeted out, aimed at Mark Henry. This is why African-American talent on the biggest platform will continue to not have equal opportunity, because people like you constantly tear your own people down. A damn shame, honestly. Mark Henry then spoke to TMZ about this, and Mark Henry genuinely hurt by the accusations, by the claims of Lio Rush. And said that he actually helped 80% of the estimated 25 current performance centre trainees of colour to get there. On top of that, he has said he's also considering suing Lio Rush for defamation of character. Lio Rush responded with another series of tweets saying that he could do the same for the comments he made on Busted Open Radio. Mark Henry responds on Twitter with, "Just own it and move on. This is the last time we'll communicate unless it's for an apology. By the way, you're welcome for me asking the company not to fire you a year ago. Tell your fans." Lio Rush comes back again, says, "Listen, Mark, you went on your worldwide podcast with your 1.3 million followers and called me a liar, defaming my name. It's clear that you're chasing clout. You told on yourself in that TMZ video, and this is sad. And by the way, if you saved my job back then, thanks. You were my first wrestling toy back in the day. Luckily, it didn't talk. One more thing, if you don't mind, Mark Henry, good for you for getting that 80% hired. I wasn't one of them, though, so I owe you nothing. You weren't signing my checks, nor did I work for you. I don't even know you. Stop being weird. I was taught not to talk to strangers." So Mark Henry and Lio Rush going back and forth. Mark Henry in this interview with TMZ certainly doesn't sound like he's taking the prospect of a lawsuit seriously, but there is certainly grounds for one if Mark Henry were to speak to his legal team, who are apparently very upset with this situation. It could end up being a rather messy lawsuit. Lio Rush, this isn't the first time his name has been thrown into the conversation about heat backstage. A few years ago, he got into a fair bit of hot water when Emma got sacked from WWE following a loss to Asuka. She was then released from her contract, and Lio Rush tweeted out, "Oh, I guess Emma wasn't ready for Asuka." And that just upset a lot of people. He was talking to Gary Cassidy at Sportskeeda as well about any heat that he might have with NXT boss Triple H. And Lio Rush said, "I don't know if it ended on good terms or not, because I feel like me and Hunter clashed heads a lot. We were always in disagreement as far as what the plan was for me and how he saw me as a character, or how he saw me as an asset to the brand. I feel like we were just always disagreeing all the time, and it sucked because obviously I looked up to Triple H when I was a kid and stuff like that." Lio Rush put out a tweet last week, we talked about this on the news, where he made a mask, a moth-themed mask, since he's the man of the hour, the Moth. And he wanted to wear it as part of his character, but he was told by higher-ups no, which does lend some credence to the fact that him and Triple H must have gone back and forth with quite a few things. I hope the Lio Rush, Mark Henry stuff gets solved without a lawsuit, because it's too much silliness in the world right now. The brand-to-brand invitation is a thing, and WWE have added an extra rule to this new initiative. They have now said that a Raw, SmackDown or NXT star can only go to different shows 4 times. So, Charlotte Flair was on SmackDown on Friday. She'll be on SmackDown next time. That's twice. She'll only be allowed to do 2 more hops through the proverbial portal. So this potentially could be a great storyline thing. I'll explain why in a second. But this kind of feels a bit like a rule for the sake of being a rule. This doesn't feel like something that WWE will adhere to. I feel like by the end of this, we're just going to be left going, why didn't they stick to that rule? Why did they bother with that rule in the first place? It could make a good storyline caveat, though. It could, because you could have it so say someone like Andrade loses the US title to a SmackDown star. So he's only got a finite number of times to get the belt back until the portal proverbially closes. They could do that. I mean, they probably won't, but they could. The AEW Casino ladder match is almost full. Luchasaurus has been added to the lineup now, which also contains Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Phoenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, and Frankie Kazarian. If you're not familiar with how this is going to work yet, they outline the rules of this on AEW. So the plan is, it's not going to be like a free-for-all a la Money in the Bank. It's going to be a gauntlet match, but with a ladder caveat. So 2 will start. Every 90 seconds, somebody else enters. The object of the match is to climb the ladder and retrieve the casino chip hanging above the ring. This can be retrieved at any point in the match. So the jeopardy being that if you're last in the match, you may not even get into the match before the match is won. That's the jeopardy there. That person can then use the chip to get an AEW championship match down the road. Does this mean that we're going to get someone like Luchasaurus carrying a massive casino chip round with him for the entire year? Like a Money in the Bank briefcase? I'd be alright with that. That's a fun visual. And finally, we say farewell to Devon Dudley. The only table he will be getting now is one at Arby's for his family. Devon Dudley stepped away from full-time wrestling and has since moved to part-time wrestling a while back, but now he said that even that is off the table. During his latest episode of Table Talk, Devon said, "Even though I was a little frustrated about not continuing to wrestle for that one more year that I wanted, I'm extremely happy now being a producer and not wrestling. I've officially hung it up. I'm done. Except for different appearances that they may want me to do on a show, but no more wrestling. I've had my 15 minutes of fame and it was a good ride." I think Bubba said it best during our Hall of Fame speech. We did it our way. We went out there and we conquered. We will always be put in with some of the best, and arguably some people will say that we were the best as well. Devon Dudley will go down in history as a phenomenal tag team wrestler, but I want to tip the cap to some of his singles success as well. Of course, in 2002, he was Reverend Devon, and it was through Reverend Devon that we got to meet Dave Bautista, as he was the Deacon. He had a brief run as a singles guy in WWE through Deacon Bautista. Had another run in TNA. Him and Bubba Ray ended up feuding in TNA. It led to Devon winning his first major singles belt. He became the TNA TV champion for 192 days before the belt was defunct and taken off him, if memory serves correctly. So I wanted to give a little nod to the singles run, but he will always be one half of one of the greatest tag teams in history in the Dudley Boys. Thank you for all the tables, what you fetched, Devon. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.